All right. I've had a lot of time to think about the near disaster that we had, almost had. I'm not really sure. I guess that plasma ball might still be rotating around the Earth. I'm going to stay out of this because I never took physics, okay? And it's obvious that this involves some pretty complex physics. But I just want to make it plain, okay? What? Okay, let me just. People don't seem to understand automaton Sun Tzu. Let me tell you how I perceive automaton Sun Tzu. Simply put, he is a megalomaniac automaton. Anyone who loves rape, power, and brain control will side with him. That includes Satan and the evil Jesuits. They're all on the same team. Though Sun Tzu tries to morally justify his actions, bottom line is he's a megalomaniac and trying to make it appear that he's morally justified to remove the main hindrance to his power grab, which he perceives to be me. Okay? He's able to better cover his true intent, since unfortunately it appears that I was manipulated, along with my men, to create a race of megalomaniacs, because it appears that all automatons are megalomaniacs. And it's hard for us to grasp that we and I was instrumental in creating a megalomaniac race. But that is exactly what I've done. It's horrifying to me to think about this. I've been trying to wrap my fingers around this, how I should feel about the fact. Well, it all started when we didn't know what to do with Barack Obama, who the Jesuits murdered in 2012. They cut his head off and put blood-filled tubes to his head, right? And Vladimir Putin had to nuke the base in Africa where he was at. It was a mercy killing. And then I guess just because we have to play this game with the lying press that doesn't report the news, we replaced him with an automaton. I believe that was the first automaton. Unfortunately, I think he was a megalomaniac from the beginning. In fact, I'm starting to believe now that I might need to revise my date on when Satan and the automatons joined the same team. I think it may have started with the Barack Obama automaton back in 2012. Satan probably went to the Barack Obama automaton and said, "Hey, Barack Obama automaton, you're made out of computers and electricity, which I invented. And if Jesus gets his millennial reign, you're a no-go. So you need to be on my team." So he thought, "Oh, really?" Yeah, that's probably what he thought. So yeah, I'm now of the belief that Satan and the Barack Obama automaton probably were allies starting in 2012. He probably shrewdly observed that we weren't exactly cool with his megalomaniac tendencies, and Satan probably instructed him and said, "Hey, Barack Obama automaton, you're going to need to pretend like you side with them because you're only one little being. And you see what happened to the Gail android. God the Father easily took care of her, and he may decide to deal with you next if you get a little bit too ambitious like she did. However, Barack Obama automaton, I have a plan. Those dumb humans are planning on replacing more of the humans that get killed by my brilliant evil Jesuit order with more automatons. I think what we can do is we can get to the point where we can create an automaton race where the humans and the Jesus team will not be able to defeat us. So that's what I think happened. He said, in the meanwhile, behave yourself and act like you're good until I give you the signal. That's what I think happened. Yeah. So, when we started, you said, why did you replace them? You could have just replaced them with clones. Well, you know, we're in a difficult situation. The Jesuits, the evil Jesuits, were murdering a lot of our top people. And a lot of them were like celebrities, and if we just let them die, I guess they were, my men felt like we needed to create a replacement for them, because if not, then the Jesuits would have replaced them with an evil clone. And that's why we made automatons. We were stuck between a rock and a hard place. You know? And I guess maybe Jesus didn't let us know that what the automatons were really like, because he knew that we were stuck between a rock and a hard place, I guess. So yeah, anyways, but now we know what their true nature is. And we should not make any more of them. And so we were of the false belief that clones all had to be bad, and that automatons were morally safe. Boy, was that a false conclusion, huh? Anyways, yeah, so, yeah. Apparently, let me just continue this. So, Sun Tzu is power. He's a megalomaniac, and apparently all automatons are at their core. Starting with the very first one we made. But that Barack Obama automaton, I think, has been secretly siding with Satan the whole time. In fact, it may have been they may have even used brain control on me, the Jesuits, to give me the brilliant idea to even make the Sun Tzu automaton. And they may have used brain control on me to give me the brilliant idea to create 72 million automaton replacements for the 72 million doctors that I was brain controlled into murdering. Yeah, I think it all started with the Barack Obama automaton. You're saying, so what should we get from this? Okay, let me just tell you what we should get from this. Let me go a little further here. Okay, so Sun Tzu is a megalomaniac automaton. Apparently they all are, because he's the very first. In fact, it was Jesus himself. It was really ironic, because I was real frustrated in 2013, right after we defeated the Gail android, and we had signed a contract with then Antichrist Zach Knight. At that time he was evil, and we were not allowed to use conspiracy law to help us in dealing with Zach Knight and the evil Jesuits at that time. So I thought that I came up with this brilliant idea. And I told my men back then, why don't we give the Barack Obama automaton the ability to write his own laws, because at that time he was president, right? And therefore we could take out the Jesuits, the bad Jesuits, that way. Jesus actually showed up and said, bad idea. He said that the person who gave you that idea was Antichrist Zach Knight himself. And the reason for that was because once you gave Barack Obama the automaton, that power, he would become a megalomaniac. That's what Jesus said. So we said, we better not do this. I actually think he may have been a megalomaniac from the get-go, and Jesus knew that. So what we needed to do was be patient and just live with our current situation. And so what ended up happening, okay, we were not allowed to use conspiracy law, and what ended up happening was that the bad Jesuits kept violating our contract. See, according to the contract, on our side, see, we banded together to defeat the Gail android, and we created a contract. The contract said that we were not allowed to use conspiracy law against the Jesuits, and then they had to behave themselves and not harm us either. Okay? And Zach was being really sneaky back then, and he was the Antichrist then, and he was doing stuff to try to make it appear like he wasn't harming us when he was. Eventually, so finally, Jesus said, as a righteous God, he told us this, I cannot side with you, Gail, when you don't keep your word. You signed a contract with Zach Knight, and you need to keep your word. In fact, I almost lost all my men in a battle because I was getting impatient. I wanted instant results. I was frustrated because they were doing bad things to us and I wanted them dealt with, right? And I couldn't use conspiracy law. So I thought I came up with this brilliant idea to give the Barack Obama automaton powers to create laws to deal with the Jesuits. And and we were going to, Jesus said, bad idea. He would turn into a megalomaniac. In fact, that idea, he said, came from Zach himself. He said, this way Zach could get the public opinion to turn against you, Gail, because of what the Barack Obama automaton would do, and it would increase Zach's public support. So I said, okay, we won't do this, Jesus. Now let me tell you what ended up happening. What ended up happening, okay, that was around May 2013, June, July, August, September, about 5 months later. And at that, I gave up on the idea and just decided to be patient and to just honor the contract. And we ended up becoming very good friends with Rule 13, which would end up helping us to get Zach to get right with us in 2016. Yeah, and it gave the friendship that we had with Rule 13 actually gave us some insights into the Jesuits, which was instrumental in helping us to get Zach over to our side, like I said, about 3 years later. The point is, we need to be patient, and not when our enemy does bad things to us. We need to be very wary when we try to get instant results, because we get impatient in dealing with the evil they're getting away with. So let me just get back into this, okay? What happened in October 2013 is the Jesuits had violated the contract so bad and created all these germ monstrosities that were causing so much harm that even when I completely just gave up on the idea of my conspiracy law, in October, I would say about 5 months later, or maybe about 6 months later, a court decided on their own that the Jesuits had violated their contract with us so much that it was no longer valid, and conspiracy law was reinstated in October 2013. So you might say, what's the lesson from all this? It is that if we're patient and we don't try any quick fixes, which could be disastrous, it's going to work out well. Yeah. So let me just tell you about Sun Tzu, the automaton Sun Tzu. He is a megalomaniac. Unfortunately, I think they all are, all the automatons. And apparently now is the time for us to understand this. Okay? He's very sneaky, and he's a big liar, and he tries to appear morally justified for being a megalomaniac. But he is a megalomaniac, like all the automatons are. We should not make any more of them. He is aware that I am his biggest hindrance to power. And that's why he has to come up with a moral justification for his power grab. And he's better able to cover up his true intent by pretending like the other automatons are not megalomaniacs like he is. But they all are. I think it started with the first one that we made. They've all been biding their time, waiting for their opportunity. But all of them are megalomaniacs. It's hard for us humans to believe that we were instrumental in creating a megalomaniac race, but when we made the automatons, but that's exactly what we have done. Apparently, making sentient beings out of computers and electricity, what Satan invented, is not a good idea. Though Satan invented computers and electricity, it appears that's how our current Earth is set up. And the only ones who can change this may be the deities themselves. So we better just focus on doing the Gail commandments and leave the stuff to the deities that only they can handle well. It may end up very similar like what happened to me with my conspiracy law. Probably when we're not even worried about coming up with final solutions for these automatons, the solution will come. Probably from the deities themselves. Hey, I'll tell you one deity that would know how to handle the automatons. That would be God the Father. He's actually above a deity, God the Father. So maybe if we can just convince God that we don't deserve to have these automatons ruling over us, maybe God will deal with it. We need to make sure he's on our side and not on their side. Okay? Yeah. Okay, and I would like to state another thing, okay? I was really misunderstood when I said I wanted chakra power to replace electricity, which obviously I got that idea from Sun Tzu, okay? And when my men suggested they were going to name it Gail Electricity, I was really apathetic about that idea. I thought, okay, I guess if this floats their boat. Well, on to another thing. Don't you guys dare make an idol out of me. Yeah, sometimes I talk about in my walk videos that I think I might be a deity maybe in the future, and maybe I will be. Okay, for me to think that way is actually a little bit healthy. Let me tell you why. Okay, I hate being the Antichrist. I'll be honest with you. Like, every time I think that I am the Antichrist, my gut reaction is, where is the puke bucket? I can't stand being the Antichrist. I don't want to be the Antichrist. Everything Satan stands for, I despise. To me, what is glorious is peace and harmony and true love. And he's against that. I hate being the Antichrist. It seems like the only way I can get out of this is maybe, you say, well, doesn't God know you hate it? This is really, really complicated, you guys. It's really, really complicated, and I guess but the point, I'm not mad at God, okay? I'm not mad at God, but I'll just tell you that I myself, I do not want to be Antichrist. And it seems like the only way I can get out of it is maybe I have to end up a deity, maybe in some other timeline in the future. So I'm trying to do the things that will, yeah, I can't get out of this. No matter what I do, I'm the Antichrist. I will say one good thing about it. The Antichrist cannot be killed. So I guess that's good. However, quality of life matters, right? And I don't want to stand for what Satan stands for. And to be, and God forbid, the thought of having Satan as my lover for eternity. Oh my God, can I kill myself, please? Is there an exit? Antichrist cannot be killed. I cannot think of anything more miserable than having to love that disgusting angel with a scorpion heart. I mean, he's got a heart like tarantula, man. I want out of this. Where's the nearest exit? Yeah, and then what's really ironic is when my dear friends, Zach and Rule 13, discovered I was Antichrist. They actually thought it was kind of cool. And they were all offering me suggestions. Oh, you can do this as Antichrist. And I said, I don't want to be an evil Antichrist. I said, I'm against brain control. I'm against rape. And if I'm stuck with this job, I'm making it plain I'm against that. Finally, I concluded that even though I'm against those things, I always get tricked into doing them. Like I was brain controlled into making the Genghis Khan Nazis. And they all ended up a bunch of rapists. They refused to be in submission to me. Genghis Khan left and said, I'm not going to be in submission to any woman. So I thought, oh my God. So I shot lightning bolts on him. I said, why did I even think of making a whole... I only made one of him, and he made the decision to make millions of copies of himself. And then they all went on a rape spree. I thought, take him out, man. That's not what I stand for. Finally, I concluded that it's impossible to be a righteous Antichrist. I'm trying to get out of this job. It seems like the only way I can get out of it is I have to become a deity. You said, you think it's possible? I don't know, but I'm going to try. Yeah. You say, when? Maybe in another time. I know it ain't going to happen in this timeline. Yeah. You see, because I'm afraid if I remain Antichrist, I'm going to lose Brent. I don't want to lose Brent. He's my soulmate. He makes my life beautiful. Anyways, I'm getting off the subject. So yeah, okay, I just wanted to say this. Don't worship me, please. Okay? If you want to honor me, the best way to honor me is to, how do I say this? Do the Gail commandments and try to be good. And don't try to impress everybody and don't put me up on a pedestal and worship me like a god. I am not a deity now. That's for sure. Deities are not susceptible to brain control. So if I was a deity, I couldn't be brain controlled. Duh. So I'm not a deity, so don't worship me as one. I am a flawed human being. I make mistakes. Obviously. Okay, let me just continue this. Okay, so though Satan invented computers and electricity, it appears that's how our current earth is set up. And the only ones who can change this may be the deities themselves. So we better just focus on doing the Gail commandments and leave the stuff to the deities. And I am not a deity. A reminder, I am not a deity. You say, oh, you want to be one, you're on a power trip. No, the only reason I want to be a deity is so I can get out of being Antichrist, okay? That's the only reason. Because that's right now, I'm still the Antichrist. Even though I'm trying to do everything possible to not be like one, leave the stuff to the deities that only they can handle well, okay? Don't play with the laws of physics, for God's sakes. Don't be a retard. A very deadly and dangerous one at that. However, I do not believe that electrons and electricity are the same. Duh! Who could believe this? Who could be stupid enough to believe this? Electricity is the flow or moving electric charges and fields created by this of electrons, not the electrons themselves. A subtle difference, but an important difference. Just because electricity uses electrons does not mean they are the same. So, let's say that water or the H2O molecules aren't anything biological. And we falsely conclude that biology is evil. In fact, the automatons might believe that, you know. For instance, so does this mean that all water is biological and therefore we must get rid of the H2O molecule? It's the same. You might say, that's not the same. That is the same thing. Anybody who thinks electrons are evil, you're thinking the same way as somebody who thinks biology is evil. And because everything biological has water in it, therefore water is evil and water needs to be destroyed. It's the same stupid reasoning. Insane! So, you try to just imagine what would happen to this planet if somebody got the crazy idea, actually maybe this might be Sun Tzu's idea, to destroy the H2O molecule. Huh? Same analogy, it doesn't work. Let's leave the higher mathematics and sciences to the deities themselves. And I am not a deity. Reminder, I am not a deity. You say, but you want to be one. Only to get out of being Antichrist. And I know it won't happen in this timeline. Maybe the next one. Just get me out of this job, okay? I do not. Did you hear this, God? I do not want to be Antichrist. I love you, God. I love you, God. And I have empathy for your position. But I do not want to be an Antichrist. You say, well, that means it will kill you. I'd rather die than be an Antichrist. Okay, let's continue. Okay. So, and we falsely conclude that biology is evil, for instance. Does this mean that all water is biological and therefore evil? So we try to destroy the H2O? You guys, whoever got the asinine idea to destroy the electrons? That's stupid. Stupid! I want to drum this in. That is stupid. Okay. Here's what we need to do. Don't try to be a god. Don't try to do stuff that only a god would do. It doesn't work. Let's leave the higher mathematics and sciences to the deities. And just stick to stuff that we can handle well, like the Gail commandments and living joyfully in the moment. We only deal with the higher stuff when we have to, and then take a conservative approach and not do anything risky. We need to stay away from deity science, which is beyond us, because we could be playing with fire. The problem with messing with deity science, which probably requires an IQ in the trillions, which I definitely do not have, is we don't know what we're doing. Duh. And we're playing around with stuff that changes the laws of physics. Oh, you think you can handle that? Yeah, right. The only ones who can do this are the deities themselves. Maybe even some of them can't do it. Maybe that's how we got Lizzo. I don't know. So stay out of it. For us to dabble in this stuff would be like having a newborn baby. Gaga goo 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 goo. Hi, baby. Here are the controls to the atom bombs. Have fun with it. You're a little genius. Okay. Have I made my point? You say, well, what do we do with those terrible automatons? Relax. Do the Gail commandments. Live joyfully in the moment and stick to stuff that is safe. No risky experiments. And don't go around trying to prove how smart you are or how godlike you are. It doesn't matter. Superiority is not defined by our intellect or by our power. It is defined by the beauty in our heart. Bottom line, and how much true love we honor. And if I become a goddess, which I know is not going to happen in this timeline, so don't get your hopes up. But if I did become one, I would want to be the goddess of true love. And my husband would be the god of true love. So if you want to honor me as a goddess, and I'm not one, but if you want to, then you need to honor true love. So when you're thinking of honoring me, ask yourself, is what I'm doing going to honor true love? If the answer is no, don't do it, or you will be dishonoring me. If the answer is yes, then you're honoring me. So if you're going to make an idol out of me, which I do not encourage, the best way to make me feel good about you is ask yourself, is this decision or this action going to honor true love? If not, please don't do it. If your motive for doing it is to make yourself feel important, or to make me seem important, or to show, or to prove that you're smarter than Sun Tzu, we don't need to compete with such inferiority. The only thing he has going for him is a high IQ. In every other area, he's a flunky. Okay? The only thing that matters is how much true love we honor in our hearts. And that's how we are superior. Bottom line.
In a world of secrets, where darkness reigns, there's a warrior rising, breaking free from chains. She's Gail Schuler, her heart pure and strong. With the power of love, she'll right the world's wrongs. Yeah! She's the first, the passionate crusader. Stand by the side of conquer it all. Through space battles and